Moment. Okay, we're on Samach Gimel Amud Beis.
Oh.
We're well along there. Okay.
We're already in the white side.
We're up to we're towards Omer Rab Tanchum.
I don't know what that is.
The Od Patach. No, a little bit further. Od Patach Rabbi Yehuda.
Where is that? On the white side?
What?
Already in the
Yeah, already
white?
deep in the wide side, yeah.
I don't know where we are then. That's the
Well, Od Patach, there's two dots there, Sadik.
Oh, the Ot Patach Rabbi Yehuda.
Yeah. There we go. Safaria, Brachot 63b.
Patach in this case means
He began speaking. He began his discourse.
Ot Patach.
Right.
Oh,
So
beginning, he started. Petach. Petach is the door too.
okay, and now we're going to share screen.
Patach.
Share screen.
Patach is to open.
Yeah. Okay, so where we're up to is page 2.
Ahu Patach.
Patach is to open up. No, in other words, before they would do a discourse, before they would study halacha, they would introduce it with some idea of agada. And this idea of gada has to do with the honor of the Torah. The Od Pasach Rabbi Yehuda also began discussing B'chavoda Torah, began discussing the honor of the Torah.
Bedarash.
1 second. B'darash, and he said the following interpretation: Has kesu Shema Yisrael, keep silence and listen, O Israel. Today you have become a nation by receiving the Torah. The Torah Yisrael is the Torah then given on that day to the Jewish people. Moshe is speaking to the Jewish people at the end of 40 years, right before his death. What do you mean today you have become a nation? We became a nation receiving the Torah 40 years before. To teach you that the Torah is beloved on those who study it, every single day. Like the very day Marsina was given on Mount Sinai. Because one is always discovering new things in the Torah, and the Torah is so precious and so important that each day it's as if you just received it at Sinai, or at least that's how you should learn the Torah. And the other thing, of course, is that you don't say, oh, the Torah was written 3,500 years ago. Maybe it needs changing. Maybe it needs updating. No, the Torah is absolutely as relevant today as when it was given and needs no change. It merely needs obedience. Rabbi Tanuchum, the son of Rabbi Chia. Why? Because God is infinite and God sees all the future. And if God gave us a Torah, God knew everything that would happen in the future. Rabbi Tanchum said in the name of Chia, then Ishkvar Akko, who was of the village of Akko. Hello, Herb. Hello, Natalie. No, Sharayodim Kore Kriya Shema Shachar Sarvis. And hello, YouTube. And know that today a person, if he reads Shema morning and evening, and one night he doesn't read, Ki Dometz, as if he never read the Shema. Haskes. Now,
has to be read or
to
recite.
Recite.
Well,
to
reading
read.
and reciting are two different
No,
things.
in Hebrew, reading always means reading out loud. Kore, the word kore means to read out loud. Now, the Hebrew word to read means to read out loud, hence to recite. So you could translate it recite, but in Hebrew, when we read, we're always reading out loud. Because any prayer, or even Torah study itself, must be done out loud. You actually have to say the words.
That's why it's noisy in a yeshiva.
Right. So haskes, another meaning of haskes, silent, don't read silent, but read it as kat, groups. Asu kitot, vasku b'torah, make groups and studying Torah. We should study Torah together with someone else. It's not good. Should you study Torah alone? Why? Because when you study alone, no matter how smart you are, you ultimately come to your quirks and to make errors. When you study it with someone else, they challenge your way of looking at it, and between the two of you or the three of you, you come up with the truth. If Ishena Torah Niknas, Torah is not truly acquired, Ella Bechavura, only when it's studied in a group, like Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina. To Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said as the following thing: My dichsiv, what is the meaning? What is the meaning of the word cherev alabadim v'noalu? So this is from Yirmiyahu, and we translate that a sword shall come upon the scoffers, and they shall be shown as foolish. But he reads, but like many times in Medrash, you read it differently. Cherev, a sword, bad means alone, means a branch, a single branch. So a sword shall come upon the those who are alone, v'noalu, and they will be seen as foolish. Someone who studies Torah alone might bring himself to destructive and false interpretations, and because we all have quirks and we all have blind spots, and to foolishness. Cherev al sonenim shotomid chachamim. A sword should come upon those who hate the scholars. Who hates the scholars? Someone who won't study with another scholar, but insists that they know everything on their own and don't need to consult with anyone.
You can't study by yourself.
Sheyoshrim bad bavad, who are sitting alone, voskim b'Torah, and studying Torah. Below ela shabat pishim, in the long run, shemitapshin, they become foolish. It says here no alu, and it says written asher no onu. When Moshe says they have been foolish. Below ela shechotim, they come to sin because without someone to check their work, as if it were, they, as it says, we have been foolish, says Moshe, we have sinned. Because in the end, if you rely only on yourself and don't listen to anyone else, and imagine that you know better than everyone else, you will come to grave errors.
Nobody to correct.
So on. And if you wish, again, you can derive from there that the princes of so on have become foolish. Another interpretation, Haskes Shema Yitzro, the word Haskes, katkem word kitasu, means to crush to yourself, crush yourself for words of Torah.
Doesn't that kind of contradict the sanctity of the individual, according to Hashem?
An individual is holy.
You can't trust him to study, but
an individual is holy.
His own.
An individual is holy, but an individual is also prone to errors. Human beings are prone to errors and biases. When, even if you study on your own, you later sit down with someone else and study it and go through it, you check your errors, you check your work, you are able to avoid problems. That's why in an airplane, the pilot and co-pilot both go through the checklist, because it's always possible for someone to make an error. But you make an error in Torah, you could come to sin, to misleading others, to misinterpreting Judaism. It could be a very bad thing. And therefore, yes, the individual is holy and important, but individual human beings, the way God made them, are prone to error. And when they are humble and seek someone else's opinion and listen to what someone else has to say, right? That enables them to come to the right conclusion. And the fact is that we see many smart people who come up with very weird and dangerous ideas because they insist they know better than everyone else. For example, Plato's Republic is full of grossly immoral and dangerous ideas because Plato thought he knew better than everyone else. Unlike his teacher Socrates, who was more humble. Listen, and Haskes can.
Rabbi.
Yes.
And also when we are learning by ourselves, we can only listen to our own voice and our own understanding. So which can lead to misunderstanding. Yeah, that's why it's always good to listen to others, because it's very difficult to analyze
deep and complex things.
It's very difficult to be sure that what you understand is in fact what is really there, because most of the time people have perception of the things, but perception doesn't mean it's the real thing. So
Very
that's
true.
why it can lead to misunderstanding. And when somebody listens to us, they can see what are exactly what you're saying. So don't you think it's this or that? So we can exchange so much knowledge and experience. No?
Exactly, and that is why Noalu one can attain will get to foolishness. In other words, to errors if you don't listen to others. Now we're going to have another interpretation of Haskes. Not be silent, not make groups, but another, again, this is midrashic. This is an adaptation of Hebrew words, davarach, of Hebrew words. Now, and I just want to make an important point you should all know about midrash, that the midrash takes upon it the ability to look at words and fragments in isolation. So even though the following interpretations of Haskes don't match to the whole story Moshe is telling, one of the premises of Midrash is that every fragment and every word of the Torah can be interpreted in multiple ways, and it only has to make sense reflexive to that fragment or that word. It doesn't have to make sense in the context of the whole verse, because every word and letter of the Torah stands on its own in multiple layers and possibilities of interpretation. This is the meaning of not just the 70 faces to the Torah, but it says that there are 49 faces facing forward, 49 behind. In other words, there are 49 possibilities, which means, by the way, those who are mathematically inclined, that there are 49 to the 49th power interpretations of the Torah, which is a very, very big number.
For sure.
Right. Davar Acher, Haskes Shema Yisrael.
How did they come up with the 49, the number 49?
Because it says there's 49 gates of understanding, the 50th God has to bring you into. Davar Acher, but so if there's 49 gates of understanding, and there's sort of two sides to every story, so since you can combine any with any, it's 49 to the 49th power.
Well,
Oh,
Big number.
big number. That's why we haven't run. Look at all the books. We haven't run out of interpretations. Yes, Natalie.
I think that I was thinking about the number 7 because 49 is 7.
Right. That's the thing. 7 weeks of 7 days. You know, the Sfirat Omer.
7
Yeah.
times 7 times 7.
Right, and so on. Yep.
Well,
Very good.
7 times 7 is an important number because the next year is Yovel.
Right. It's all related. Yuvla, that the Yuvla is the level which is beyond human understanding, which only God can give you, as discussed in Kabbalah. At any rate,
There was 49 gates, and what was the other 49?
49 front and back. In other words, there are 49 gates, and there are two, as if it were, there's a front gate and a rear gate. There are each of the possible interpretations that can combine with any of the others can be seen in two ways. So you could have numbers 7, 16, 14 front and 11, 12, 18, 17 back. So if you work that out, all the possible combinations, I believe it comes out 49 to the 49th power. Davar Acher, Haskes Shema Yisrael. This is, I believe, in Sefer Yetzirah, one of the oldest Kabbalah books. Davar Acher, Haskes Shema Yisrael. Keep silent and hear, O Israel. Kitzatzu atzvachem al divrei Torah. Break, the word kates means to crush. Break yourselves for words of Torah, which means to say that you have to put all your energy into it. You have to be willing to stay up late. You have to be willing to put other things aside. You have to devote yourself, immerse yourself totally in the words of Torah to properly understand them. Reish Lakish says, how do we know that the words of Torah are not established except for someone who kills himself over it? Torah. This is the Torah. This is again about the laws of ritual purity and impurity in Parshat Kukah. But if we read the fragment on its own, as the Medrash does, this is the Torah when a man dies in the tent, that a person must kill himself in the tent of the Torah. And that means to say that you put everything else aside, and there's nothing, just like there's nothing more important than life, there's nothing more important than the Torah and the study of Torah. When that becomes the most important thing in your life, even if you have 10 minutes a day to study, so that's the meimatat smola. That's killing yourself for it. That's the idea that it's the most important thing to you in your life, as the Lubavitch Rebbe used to say, that any teacher who doesn't understand a piece of Talmud or Tosfot, it should wake you up at night. It should bother you so much you can't sleep, that you don't understand something. And that's the Meimetatz Mola, that it's as important as life itself. So just like some really important thing in your life, you wake up at night thinking about it and you're absorbed by it, and so on. Let's say someone, an inventor, right? He wakes up in the middle of the night and starts scribbling inventions. So too over here.
You see what happens when you keep on only saying this. It's so important to study Torah. Yes, it's very important. It should also say it's very important that you get up in the morning and go to work.
Yossel, stop right there. Stop right there. That says at the Masechtas Kedusha many places. That says at least 20 places. As I told you, whether you have an hour or 5 hours or 10 minutes to study, it has to consume you as much as life itself. It has to bother you as much as your very life.
Okay.
The question of going to work is discussed elsewhere in the Talmud. It says a person should not say, "I'm a great man,
Hopefully
support
when we
me."
get there, I would like to see.
But it becomes
We get-
contradictory.
It's not a contradiction. A person should be utterly devoted to the study of Torah to the point where it drives everything out of your mind when you're studying Torah. And a person should go to work so they make a living and not have to depend on charity. There's no contradiction. They both say in the Talmud. You have to look at Judaism as a whole, Yossel,
Yeah,
as a
of
fragment.
course.
Okay, so but more than that, I've told you many times. This says
Maybe
in the
because we
Talmud.
only study always Brachot. I don't know.
Don't worry, we're soon gonna. In a few days, we're gonna finish Brachot, and we'll go on to another Masechta.
Which one?
We have to discuss that.
Yeah.
As a matter of
Sure.
fact, as soon as we finish this piece, that's exactly what we're going to spend the rest of our time. So really, so it's all divine providence, because really I was supposed to go away today, but I forgot to cancel the class. So yet another interpretation. Haskes is indeed going back to the plain meaning. Keep silence and listen, Israel. But the word Shema, like Shema Yisrael, the Shema we say every day, doesn't just mean listen, it means understand. Like it says later in the Torah, it says Asher lo yishma lashono, that you do not hear his language. What does it mean you don't hear his language? Parshat Kitavo.
What good is listening if you don't understand?
Right, no, but there is listening as hazana. In Hebrew, there's a word hazana, which means to listen, to hear. But Shema means to understand. So Shema Yisrael doesn't mean hear Israel, it means understand Israel.
How can you always hear somebody interpreting as he or Israel?
Because in the Torah, hearing and understanding are intertwined. In English, not necessarily. That's one of the challenges of translation, that Hebrew and English, or Hebrew and Chinese for that matter, don't translate directly to each other.
Always.
Davar acher. That's why this new Chumash that I had a small part in, which has all the possible translations as notes, as translation notes. I'll show it to you guys. It's an amazing that we just finished Brachot after 20 years of work. I didn't do most of the work, but the other four
You're
books.
going to produce a new Chumash?
It is in the process. I have a copy of it already. I only had I spent 2-3 years on it, and then I went on to other things. And
Was that a new Chumash you say?
a new interpretation, new translation, maps, diagrams, and most of all, it takes each word and shows you all the parts. It is far, in my opinion, Steinsaltz is a great man. This is far superior to Steinsaltz. You will see. I will show it to you, and you will decide for yourself.
I would love.
And as a matter of fact, there are still sponsorship opportunities for 4 of the books, 3 of the books of the Chumash, and 38 of the Parshiot. So if you like it, you can even sponsor. I'm going to bring one in. I'm going to donate one to the show, and everyone can look at it. It's we only have Brachot.
When are they coming out?
It's already out. Brachot is out. The other 4 will come out in the next year or 2. We have all the work done. When I say we,
Brachot is out. There's a volume.
Yes, 700 pages.
And you can buy it.
It will soon be on Amazon, very soon. But I'm going to show you
a reasonable price.
Well, it depends. You can find reasonable for a book that size, bound that beautifully with all those maps and colored pages. Whatever they charge, $70 or so, is not unreasonable. And probably 60 or 70. But they're also going to make a Shul Chumash, will be a condensed version which hopefully will become the hurts of the
So
future
you
generation.
must already have a book.
I do. I will show it to you when I
Yes,
come back
I
from
would
vacation.
love to see.
I am getting one. There were a few early sponsors who I have to present books to, but I believe I will have one left over for the show. Which
What do you
we
mean by
will do.
sponsors?
People, this is a project involving well over a dozen scholars and several graphic designers and so on. It's a multi-million-dollar project.
Mhm.
It's far more beyond the art scroll or the Scheinsalz or anything. And we have raised significant money for it, and we're waiting to
Okay,
raise more.
so
Not we, by the way. I shouldn't say we, because I was involved in it the first 2 years. Then came the crash of 2008, and several of our sponsors pulled out. And I went off to Harvard and ultimately to B'nai Torah. And my colleagues continued working on it on a shoestring, and ultimately got sponsorship.
okay, so
Again.
what was Steinzel missing that this adds?
You'll see. Steinsaltz does this is much more extensive. This has a separate section on each parsha of the midrashim on the parsha, so they don't get like mixed in. And it brings the commentaries down precisely, a very broad variety of commentaries, and very precisely translated. Some things will make people uncomfortable. We're giving you what the Torah and its commentators say without any, Art School, for example, does a lot of polishing and shining to say what people want to hear. This is
They do their interpretation.
No, but I'm saying what we're doing is we're presenting the full range of interpretation. We have Cook, we have Soloveitchik, we have Hasidic, we have anyone who's in the realm of accepting that the Torah comes from God is included. You'll see and decide for yourself. So it's no longer my project, but I have an affection for it because I spent 2 years of my life on it.
And
What?
the Brachot alone would be like, what did you say, $70?
Probably.
That's the book of Brachot.
Yeah, you'll see. It's an amazing book. Academic books cost hundreds of dollars. But there will be a 1-volume shul version. But I'll show it to you. I think you will like it very much. Anyways, Davar Acher, Haskes Ushma Yisrael. The Haskes Ushma Yisrael. Keep silent and hear Israel. Has Vachakach Kates. First be silent and then study intensively. Like Rava, Dama Rava, Torah. A person should always study Torah. Then delve into it. So first be silent, right? In other words, first listen, get the main thing down, and then ask questions, right? First you have to hear the whole piece, Yasala. Then once we heard the whole piece, then we ask questions. So be silent, listen, and then ask questions.
The problem is that we don't listen to the whole thing. We always listen.
Good, Yasal, exactly.
Two pieces.
Right. So this is Haskes. Be silent, listen to the whole story. And then, then we,
Yeah, but that's just the opposite of what you're saying about the Torah. Each word stands on its own.
Yeah, but so this
So
is
that's just the opposite of what you're saying now.
no, because listen, Jerry, good question. The point is, first you have to hear the whole verse, the whole
It was
section.
more a comment than a question.
No, first you have to hear the whole section and know its basic meaning. Then you can start taking it apart and add layers. But if you don't know the basic meaning, what happens? What happened here in Springfield? That someone built concrete foundations for many hundreds of houses, and they built beautiful houses on them, but the concrete was bad. Remember about this like 2-3 years ago? It came up?
Going on.
Right. I was in Western Mass also.
Well, there's something.
But what's the point if you build a weak foundation? So first you have to know the basic meaning of the Torah and what the words mean and the grammar and the translation. Once you know the fundamental meaning, then you can start taking it apart and adding layers of interpretation. But if foundation is weak, the whole thing will collapse. I'll give you an example. There were a group of yeshiva students studying Tractate Nazir about the Nazirite, and they're into this very involved question. If you make an oath and you use a certain language of an oath, for how long are you an oath? It's a very complicated question, right? So an old Jew comes in and asks the yeshiva students, "Tell me, can a woman be a Nazir?" And they start thinking about this Gemara and this commentary. And if he shows them the Chumash, ish o isha, a man or woman. because they were so involved in this very
Exactly.
arcane discussion of the Gemara, they forgot the basic psukim that are the basis.
Exactly.
And the point is, Haskes, be silent, get the basic picture down, then delve into it. But then you can
But
take
you
it
know
apart.
what, Rabbi?
Then every word does stand on its own, but you have to know the context. So we're doing a Haskes Shema Yisrael. We need to know it means be silent and listen, O Israel. And then we say, well, there are other interpretations that can be added to the be silent thing.
Sometimes you read a good statement that makes a lot of sense, but then you start taking it apart, and before you know it, you don't have much. You off the deep end somewhere.
By the way,
That's what makes a good lawyer.
By the way, I want to say that I have here an earlier version of the first parsha of the Torah, Parshat Brachot, an earlier version from about 10 years ago. I have many copies. I'll give each of you one, and the guys who are distant, if you want, I can send you one. But I do have right here with me a few of the first version of Parshat, just Parshat Brachot. That's you can have for free. That I can give you. And you can see for yourself what's involved. And maybe I'll put
That would be nice to
It's
see.
in English. I hope.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course. Hebrew and English.
Thank you.
you're Hebrew impaired.
Okay.
Well,
But I think this, in my mind, this is the most effective English Chumash that's come out in a very long time. You'll see. I'm very biased. The head editor is my first cousin. Who's there are the three eldest boys in the family. There are three sisters, three daughters who were hidden children in the Holocaust. So my grandfather, Sri Meir
Who do you
Steinmetz.
think this book is?
So here the other cousin is the chief rabbi of Russia.
I know, but
Yeah.
who do you think the readers or buyers of this are going to be?
Any Jew interested in the Torah who reads English, from great scholars down to someone who is just putting their foot in Judaism for the first time. It's very broadly useful.
Considering all this stuff we already have.
Okay, so you know what? Give me 1 second before we go. So you won't be able to see it on the camera. It's not high enough resolution. So I'm going to wish everyone a good day. We will hopefully meet tomorrow. If you don't see me by 22 tomorrow, something happened. But I'm hoping, with the connection. But I'm hoping we'll meet tomorrow to continue. And then I'm going away for a week. We're almost at the end. So the week after I come back, and that was the beginning of Elul, the beginning of September, we're going to do a Siyum. And we have to figure out what to do about the Siyum. Because it's a big deal. We went through a whole tractate. And also, I want you to think between now and Friday as to which tractate you would like to do next. Okay. There's 60, there's 37 that have